Hey there, Jeff Manchester, Manchester Music. Welcome. In this video, I'm going to be diving into a tool called DeepCreate from a company called Hit and Mix, whose other products you might be familiar with. They make Deep Audio, which is a repair restoration tool and source separation tool, as well as Deep Remix. These guys are all about the underlying core source separation technology and then what you can do with those sounds after they've been pulled apart and separated from each other. Just as you probably noticed from the pop out, this video is sponsored by Hit and Mix. They've asked me to review it. In full disclosure, I was also a beta tester on the product, but they don't get to see this video before it comes out, and all of my opinions are my own. So with that said, let's dive into the product. I'll walk you through some of the main core functionality of it, and then I'll give you my verdict of how I feel about this, I think, really bleeding edge piece of technology. So right off the bat, this is the DeepCreate RipX technology that we see here. This is the application, okay? And so you'll notice on the left, we have different rips. This is what they refer to as like, you know, the kind of product of you importing audio and then them separating it. So your rips are like your projects, okay? And then you have, just like in Photoshop or some kind of editing software, the different layers. And those are represented here with voice, guitar, bass, kick drum, drums, and percussion. This is everything that the underlying technology was able to determine was a part of the original song, which I can actually show you. Sounds like this.
It takes so to get back home.
So when I go back into the DeepCreate application, you can see that it sounds like this.
It takes so long to get back home.
And what you've just listened to isn't what I just played you. It's the result of separating those things out and then playing them all back together. So there's very little artifacting going on here. You're listening to a composite, basically, of all those individual sounds baked back in together. So this means that I can go in here with voice and just solo the vocals and see them also displayed in blob form, a little bit like Melodyne within this main window here.
It takes so long to get back home.
So that is pretty stunning. In fact, I would go so far as to say that right now, I think RipX is leading the charge, leading the pack in terms of the quality of the source separation. This also means I can go into guitar here and have a listen to the guitars. Make sure that you have your mouse hovered and clicked on the actual source of the layer to see it. This is one thing I noticed in the workflow. We can do the same for bass, so I'll just solo bass and also make sure I hover over the actual layer. And of course, we have kick drum and percussions down here, which I think you guys get the point, right? We also have a number of inputs here for whatever audio device we have that's set up for us to be able to record into DeepCreate. So I've got my keyboard controller down here. I guess I have it set to a couple of different choir instrument sounds. I also have a microphone, sound whale, my Universal Audio Thunderbolt SonarWorks system-wide. So I was able to kind of look at your system and determine what is ready to kind of put sound into the application, and you can decide from there how you want to route stuff. I found myself to have real difficulties getting audio into DeepCreate, but I don't think that's DeepCreate's fault. In fact, I've seen other videos of people having no trouble with it. I think it really just comes down to something with my system, because my Apollo and my Scarlett Focusrite interface both really struggled to get audio in. So that's, let's just say, user error or a bug, and not DeepCreate. I just have to say that outright here. And I won't be able to show off that workflow, but just in the, for the sake of full disclosure, now you know. And at the bottom, we have this interactive help. So this is basically tooltips, right? You hover anywhere over the application and you get a little kind of infographic, not infographic, but some text that shows you what you're doing and how what you're doing is affecting something else. So you have some transport controls at the top, play, record. You can go all the way back. There's also a loop section over here, so I can drag this out if I just wanted to, get a quick loop going here. And I hit L and that goes away. And then on the right, we have some information at the very top about the BPM. This is about the kind of program material, right? What's the BPM? It's able to detect that, and the time signature 4/4. And then we have a number of collapsible little columns here where we can get really creative effects for pitch, for time, and there's even more if I scroll down here. You have to kind of scroll to see everything. You can get level adjustments too, so dynamics, and then you also have sounds and then presets, which are like combinations of a number of the pitch, time, and level adjustments you can do. So you can cluster them together to get like a kind of combo of presets, and then you can control them via these guys, which is essentially a macro for the overall wet and dry, more or less, of the preset. So if I twirl this menu down here, you'll see this reverb vibrato combo. So we have reverb, we have 7 seconds. This is the number of repeats, 3 times the repeats, and then vibrato here at 4, I guess, I want to say semitones here, and 10 hertz. So just so you know, you can then go to, let's say I want to sample just the vocal and bring my clicker around here. I can get a loop going, zoom in, get a loop going. So I've just kind of applied this preset, this cluster, to that certain section, and you can see right away the audio has changed in pretty much real time to reflect the sonic differences that we've introduced onto these specific blobs. It takes so long. It takes so long. And that's, I think, a theme that you'll notice once we get into DeepCreate is just the speed with which you can manipulate audio, and there's no waiting time. There's no loading time. Everything is loaded when you bring in a rip, which I'll show you later on. But once you've imported that audio, you're moving, you're working, you're hearing things, and things move very, very quickly. And it's something that I wasn't ready for, and I'm still not used to, just the quickness of everything playing back. It's pretty impressive. So I'll disable this loop. And what I want to do now that we're familiar with the kind of territory and the home base here of DeepCreate is I want to go in between the layers here and affect different things in the audio with some of the effects on the right and get you kind of situated within, I think, the whole reason this thing exists, which is just to help you manipulate audio, maybe make you giggle too. Anyway, so let's get into it. So we have master selected, and from here we can increase the overall master volume of everything, right? Double click to return things to the default, which I love. I wish every audio application, every software developer just made double click the return to default thing. I want to go to my actual layer. So let's start with the voice, okay? So we can see on the piano roll, these are the corresponding notes that these blobs are note-wise. And I can also make some changes here, like in the actual window, so I can drag this up or down, an individual thing, or I can bring the whole thing up or down here. Whoops. It really does not want me to, there we go. Or bring it down. So this is a little bit like Melodyne, right? We just see something, we grab a blob, we can do whatever we want. There's also, if you were to click a cluster here, you can right click and do some more stuff, move, resize, split, join, draw, pitch. These are all, I think, tools and features that we're familiar with from Melodyne and maybe from SynchroArts as well. It takes so long. Still just kind of marvel at the source separation. The voice sounds really good. So anyway, let's say that we wanted to, and by the way, as you zoom out, the visual gets a lot more simplified, which I actually really like and appreciate. It takes so long. So for good measure, I always make sure to lasso the things that I want to affect. Then I know, okay, we're good. It's yellow, it's voice, yellow, selected, cool. So now I can go over here to some of the effects and alter the separated layer of the vocals. It takes so long to get back. So if I wanted to add a little bit of reverb, I just go over to reverb and listen to how quick this workflow is. It's just play and hover and you hear stuff immediately. No having to click route 30% whatever. It's all very quick. It takes so long to get back home. 'Cause I know we're gonna fight for the way that I know that the love is gone. So So we get a much more realistic room sound in the reverb if we go kind of, over to 0 kind of percent here, but we get a much more exaggerated, dramatic, cloud-like effect of the reverb if we bring the slider over.
It takes so long to get back home.
And if I go over here, I have even more controls. And I'm not clicking. I know you can't see this. I'm just hovering my mouse. And then we have the number. It says over here, the second slider chooses the number of repetitions it contains.
It takes so long.
It's a tight reverb sound. I'm going to bring this up.
It takes so long to get back home.
So right now, I've affected the reverb of just one element by clicking, hovering, dragging, and I'm done.
It takes so long to get back home. 'Cause I know we gonna fight, that's the way that I know that the love is gone.
I'm going to just make it a bit more conservative so that we still hear the vocal and I can apply some other things to it. And the effects of the other things I'm applying aren't going to be lost because the reverb is so kind of wet. We can go over here. We could play with reverse, which is kind of fun.
It takes so long to get back home.
It's kind of crazy, kind of creepy. I'll bring this back to 0. Let's say that I wanted to actually do a little bit of pitch work. So I could invert, I could flatten the pitch. I could add some formant shifting. It's really easy also to see what you've done. So I did, I guess, some shift format work here. And now you can see that I have yellow shift format and I can further control, I guess, the semitones down here if I want to. But it's a good way to show you what you've done, what you've applied to the audio. So just double click this, bring it back to +0. Let's add some harmonies. Let's just play around here.
It takes so long to get back home. 'Cause I know we gonna fight.
I like
It
that.
takes so long to get back home. It takes
So I've created an artificial copy of the voice and I brought it down, I guess, 1 octave. And now I can control the output, the volume level of that copied harmony.
It takes so long.
Leave it at +2 decibels. I can go and create some chords, which is pretty crazy.
It takes so long to get back home.
I'll just kind of leave it here.
It takes so long.
So now what I can do is just kind of play that back and see how it sounds in the song.
It takes so long to get back home. 'Cause I know we gonna fight, that's the way that I.
So I could decide, for example, okay, I'm happy with the voice. Let's go over here to the kick drum, which is pretty dull. Sounds like this. I'm soloing it and I'll hover over. So what I could do is just highlight and then maybe go over here to more time-based effects and add maybe a delay. 1/8. Sounds kind of good. Add some, let's see here, add some reverb. Actually, I don't like the reverb. I'll leave that off. But the delay sounds okay to me.
It takes so long to get back home. 'Cause I know we gonna fight, that's the way that I know that the love is gone.
So I've affected the vocal, I've affected the kick with some effects, all more or less in real time with no loading or anything like that. Let's move over to actually altering sounds and replacing them with other sounds. Remember, this is all just source separated. I'm going in between the molecules of the song. I haven't opened a plugin. I haven't added anything to a track. It's all just working on the audio that's been separated here in, I think, a very intuitive way. So let me go over here to the kick, and let's say I don't like this kick, this one right here. So I can go here, and while this is looping back, I'll just get a loop going. And go over here to kicks in the sound section, and then try out a couple different kicks. And I don't have to commit 100% to this fully, FM tube kick. I could bring it in kind of wet dry to get both. So cool. Let's leave that there and have a listen.
It takes so long to get back home.
If we want to, we can get into like giggle territory, and I could solo the guitar, which sounds like this. And I could totally swap out and change the sonic identity of this. I'm going to again just do my little highlighting workflow like that. And as it plays back, I can audition different sounds to totally replace what we're listening to. Scroll back up. Let's go to guitars. This is their acoustic. Les Paul. Actually, let me just double click this so I don't commit that. Okay, I'm not sure if you're seeing what's happening, but one of the things that I struggle with DeepCreate is this hover workflow where sometimes I'll go to do something else and it will retain what I've done on the previous sound. It'll keep it at 100, even though like I'll double click here and then I'll go down and see we're back at 100, and I don't want to be. So it's just this thing that is sometimes annoying, which I wish could be a little easier and more fluid to use. So I'm just going to delete this. I actually don't want to delete that. I don't want to remove it from the palette. I just want to make it a little easier for me to audition different sounds here. Okay, I think I've untangled this, and now what I'm going to do is kind of start from the beginning, which is I want to show you the different instruments you can impose onto the original content, and we can cycle through and add like cellos, clarinet, bassoon. Again, this is like giggle territory. So acoustic guitar. I think I can hear the plucks there. Sax. Bass guitar, which sounds a lot like the original. Bassoon. So let's settle on marimba here. There, so I've clicked it, I've committed the changes. We see marimba down here at the bottom of the application. We're good to go. And let's play that back.
It takes so long to get back home. 'Cause I know we're gonna fight, that's the way that I know that.
I think you can hear pretty clearly that we get better quality once we've committed our stuff here on the right, and then we play stuff back. It just sounds a little bit sketchier in the moment when we're experimenting, but it also sounds enough like the thing it's going to sound like that we know we can commit, I think with confidence. And I should add that like on this sounds panel, obviously we have a number of sounds here from DeepCreate or Hit and Mix or whatever, the team, but we can also add our own. So you'll see this little plug icon here. I can click this open, and now I can go in and choose a VST3 plugin. So I could bring in Contact, for example, double clicking that, Contact 7, open, and then it's going to open the main application of Contact 7. And in this case, once the wheel finishes, I can go into Contact and I can choose, I want my 40s very own drums or choir omnia. I want to sample a range of notes within that application and then use that to graft onto the sounds that I've separated with this tool. So for example, I could go, I want, glaze here, and I could type in, glaze, like that. And then you can choose the import settings. So every 2 from 38C2 to 71, that's the kind of key scale B4. And you can also choose pitched or unpitched and then import. And then it's going to populate down here. And eventually you can access that particular instrument and use that instead of the ones that the RipX team have given you. Although I find that the ones that the RipX team have given you are pretty adequate for just exploring and experimenting, but that functionality and workflow is available to you if you want to bring your own stuff in. So one thing I forgot to mention is that below the sounds and levels, you get, in addition to presets, you get loops. So you can actually bring in a number of loops that the team have created to complement what you're working on. And in this case, we have a couple different clusters here. I'm going to collapse these so you can see a little more easily what's going on here. So we have a number of different genres: world, soul, jazz, rock, reggae. I'm going to go for down tempo because that's kind of what my track is. And I'm going to open this up and let's just choose 120 because it's pretty close to what I'm working on. So I could bring this in. And I can change the panning. I could filter out certain aspects of the frequency. So lows, bring all the lows out, mids. Oops, I lost it for some reason. Oh, it's because I'm after my clip here. Let me bring my loop all the way back. So that kind of makes up the overall, bring something in, manipulate it. I do want to show you that you can also bring audio in pretty easily. So let's say I have something on Splice that I like, this track here. I could bring this and drag it over here, and then I get this little prompt to be like, for the quickest results, select just what you need, or you can just save the stems for DJ or DAW. It'll give you the estimated ripping time, which is cool. I'll press this, and then we can wait together for the whole thing to load. And you can see kind of what it looked like, before I set this video up. You can see it loading here on the left, gives you 1 minute, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's displayed here in this interface. Okay, so now that that guitar track is in as a rip, I can click it, and then I can see it here. Just want to make sure I'm properly selected. I could expand the pitch. What does that mean? Oh, wow. We're kind of extending and accentuating the pitch. I feel like we're creating a shepherd tone there. Bring it down. Shift the format. This really brings out the attack, I find, of the player. Let's do harmony, see what happens. I actually think that sounds very musical. Especially because I think in the first half we're playing a little bit lower on the register, so we get some low notes imposed thanks to Harmony. That's really impressive. Let's go over here to some time stuff. I could reverse the entire thing. This is wild. Let's replace the entire sound palette here with something completely different. Grand Marimba. That's crazy to me. What does this do? I want to extend this out so I can hear what this is doing. Sorry, we're just kind of playing around now. It's like creating soundscapes almost. It's funny, I'm trying to get the fit to bars interactive help and quantize time. I actually don't get anything for fit to bars, but I want to know what it's doing. Maybe it's a mystery. Anyway, hopefully this gives you, I think, a rundown of what DeepCreate is, I think, ostensibly designed to do, which is not just make you giggle, but give you a lot of control and manipulation possibilities of your audio. So let me get to my pluses and minuses, or pluses and room for improvements about this product. I think the very first most positive thing about DeepCreate is the source separation technology. It is, I think, some of the best, if not the best right now. And when you have high quality source separation, it makes all the other stuff that they're doing easier and sound better. So when you can clearly separate a dry vocal from everything else, you can add reverb to it in a way that's elegant and musical. And I think that is one of those things that works really, really well. Now, you can't bring in your own effects and delay and all that stuff, but they sound pretty good. And if the separation is clear, it's going to sound good on your track. And that's kind of what I mean. We have the best in the business right now with RipX. That's the first strength. The second strength, I think, is just the ease of use. And playback of the effects, the real time. I didn't expect that. I'm used to like the DAW stuff where you have to double click and drag and whatever. Here it's just hover and move, and you can hear things in real time. They'll sound even better once you commit those effects and then play them back in the window here. So the fluidity and ease of listening back to things and experimenting, I think, is really, really well done in this tool, and something that I didn't expect. It reminded me when I first tried an iPhone, and I'd be like, what, I can check my mail as a podcast plays in the background, and then I can swipe to go to a YouTube video and like then play a game and nothing crashes. That's kind of the experience that I had with this that I just was not ready for. And I think the team deserves to be commended for just how quickly things play back, and you can hear stuff and audition stuff and then keep moving. As far as areas for improvements go, you know, I do find that there's a stickiness in the workflow with the hover, the double click, the commit. You saw when I was playing with the guitar, I had a hard time knowing if I'd already committed some of that stuff. It was tough to know how far to go back to remove it. I was clicking and dragging, but it wasn't doing the things that I expected. So there are some workflow kinks that, if you're coming from another DAW or not, I think are probably going to hopefully get worked out in future iterations. And maybe it could just come down to like user error, but I want to say genuinely that like there are things that are easy to use about DeepCreate, and this kind of hover stuff, knowing where you are, where you left off, I think still needs to get worked out. So the second area for improvement, I think, is right now I'm not seeing immediately what the commercial professional application is for this software. And that could be like part of the thing, right? Like this is not for like manipulating and then putting your stuff out onto Spotify or sharing it with your friends. This is more for the user. This is to put a smile on your face. This is to encourage sound design and to play and have fun. It's not really like, I'm going to put this out for everybody to hear and hopefully it hits like a massive playlist or whatever. And I just say that because a lot of the stuff that I'm doing, I can hear there's some artifacting, right? Because we're dealing with not the original files, we're dealing with source separation, which at the top of this video I said sounds amazing. But you can still hear there's some artifacting going on. It's a bit kind of scrappy, and that's okay, but that's one of the things for me is like, perhaps my expectations were like, once I separate everything out, it's going to sound incredible. And maybe that's the point. It's just meant to be a drafting place where you have fun, you explore ideas, you make yourself laugh. I imagine that as we go down the road with this technology, the source separation will get even better, such that everything, the quality of everything, the artifacting will be gone. It'll be smoothed out and sound really, really amazing. But for right now, I think this is a tool for people who just want to play, have fun, make themselves laugh, and explore sound design possibilities in a totally new way, in a real-time way with this technology. And my kind of final verdict for DeepCreate is that it really feels to me like this is a version 1. This is the Hit and Mix team planting a flag going, we make incredible source separation technology. People often export what they've done from our stuff into an FL Studio or a Logic. Why don't we make the destination the same, right? Why don't we make an app where it's not about bouncing them out, it's about further experimentation, keeping you in the system with an interface that is welcoming, easy enough to use, effects that are real time. That's kind of what I feel like this is. And because it's a first time, I expect that as this technology gets developed, it'll get easier to use. The quality will get better. I mean, the source separation technology in the last 5 years, thanks to the whole splitter code and everything, has just made this a very accessible thing for people to do. Those are my thoughts, right? I kind of want to know yours as well. Is this a technology that you would use? Is there maybe a competitor out there that I don't know about that you want me to know about? Please let me know in the comments. And as ever, I have a Patreon. I'm totally independent, so you can use that to support me. I have 5 patrons right now, and they're amazing. I also have affiliate links that if you want, you can use. I get a kickback. It keeps the channel independent. It keeps the channel moving and is a strong signal to me that you guys want me to keep going, testing stuff and trying stuff. So thanks again to the team at Hit and Mix for sending this to me to review and experiment with and beta test. I appreciate it. And as ever, I'll see you in the next one.